You've heard it a million times, right? That old piece of retirement advice, take the number 100, subtract your age, and boom, that's how much you should have in stocks. It sounds so simple, so safe. For generations, it's been the go-to rule for financial planning. But what if I told you that following this one simple piece of advice could be the single most dangerous thing you do for your retirement?
Now, this isn't some abstract theory. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's a 62-year-old school teacher, did everything by the book, followed all the common wisdom. She was just 3 years away from the retirement she'd always dreamed of. And the result? In just 9 months, she watched almost half of her life savings just evaporate. It was a devastating blow. And you know what? It's a story that's playing out in portfolios all over the country.
And Margaret's story, as painful as it is really just a drop in this enormous, churning ocean. In the market downturn of 2022, portfolios that were misaligned, often because of that exact same outdated advice, cost American households an estimated $3.4 trillion. So we're not talking about an individual problem here. This is a systemic failure.
So how did a rule that sounds so logical go so horribly wrong? Well, the culprit is that deceptively simple formula, 100 minus your age. Honestly, it's a relic. It's this idea that was hammered into our heads that is just fundamentally broken for the world we live in today.
Okay, check this out, because this slide really gets to the heart of the problem. That old rule, it tells both of these 35-year-olds to invest the exact same way, 65% in stocks. But just look at their lives. I mean, come on. One has a stable pension, the other's riding the crazy waves of stock options. Their financial DNA is completely different, and yet the old rule treats them like they're identical twins. It makes no sense.
So yeah, the whole formula is basically built on a house of cards. First off, it makes this huge mistake. It confuses your age with your actual investment time horizon. I mean, a healthy 60-year-old today could easily need their money to last another 30, maybe even 40 years. Second, and we're going to get into this in a second, it completely ignores the single most dangerous trap in retirement planning, something called sequence of returns risk. And finally, it was designed for a world that just doesn't exist anymore, a world with shorter lifespans and way, way higher bond yields.
And that brings us to a concept that every single investor has to understand: the retirement red zone. Think of it like the most critical period of your entire financial life. We're talking about the 5 years before you retire and the 5 years after. This 10-year window, this is where fortunes are either made secure for life or they're lost for good.
And the number one danger lurking in that red zone has a name: sequence of returns risk. Okay, listen up, because this is the absolute key to everything we're talking about. It means that when your investment returns happen matters just as much, if not more, than what your average return is over many, many years. A bad string of returns right when you start taking money out, it can be an absolute knockout punch to your portfolio.
And this just illustrates the danger perfectly. Just look at this. You've got two retirees, both starting with the exact same $1 million, withdrawing the same amount. Now here's the crazy part. Over 10 years, they get the exact same average return. But retiree A, who got hit with some bad years at the beginning, ends up with over $500,000 less than retiree B. That's not because of bad investments, it's the absolutely devastating power of bad timing.
So, okay, if managing your money by your age is the wrong way to do it, what's the right way? Let's talk about a much smarter framework. Instead of thinking about this as just one long timeline based on your birthday, we need to start thinking about our financial lives in a few distinct phases.
You see, each of these phases has its own unique goal, and it requires a completely different playbook. The aggressive, pedal-to-the-metal strategy of your accumulation phase would be totally reckless in the red zone, where really protecting your capital is king. I mean, you wouldn't use the same game plan for the first quarter of a game as you would for the final 2 minutes, would you? Your investments shouldn't be any different.
So what does this smarter playbook actually look like in practice? Well, one of the most effective strategies out there, one that's designed to navigate these phases and diffuse that sequence risk we talked about, is known as the bucketing strategy.
The concept is actually beautifully simple. You just segment your money into 3 different buckets based on when you're going to need it. So bucket number 1 is just cash, enough to cover all your living expenses for the next 1 to 3 years. That's your safe harbor. Bucket 2 is mostly bonds, and its whole job is to steadily refill that cash bucket. And bucket 3, that's your engine. That's for long-term growth, full of stocks. You know, this is more than just a financial strategy. It's an emotional circuit breaker. When the market takes a nosedive, you don't panic and sell everything, because you know your next few years of income are sitting right there, safe and sound, in cash.
So all of this, the phases, the buckets, the risks, it all leads us to a much more powerful question. For decades, we've been told to ask, how old am I? But to build a portfolio that can actually withstand the real world, we need to start asking a totally different question.
And here's the thing, the most important number in your financial life is not your age. It's what's called your funded ratio. In simple terms, it's how much money do you have versus how much money do you actually need for the rest of your life. Think about it. Someone who's overfunded can afford to take on more risk, even if they're 70. But someone with a shortfall might need to be more conservative, even if they're only 40. Your strategy should be based on your actual financial situation, not the year on your birth certificate.
So I'll leave you with this challenge. Stop asking how old you are to decide how you should invest. Start asking how well funded you are. The old rules are broken. It's time to build a plan around a new number, your number, and actually take control of your journey to a secure retirement.